Well, I'll be damned. Greetings and welcome once again to Roman of the Empire. I am your host, Roman. Today we are talking about The Last of Us Episode 6, Kin. I enjoyed this episode. This was another episode where we don't, it's a little bit of a spoiler here, where we are dealing with humanity. We are not dealing with the infected. So just go into it with that kind of expectation. This was, for the most part, I have to say for the most part, because we are dealing with The Last of Us, a more upbeat kind of episode. Little bit weird. Now, of course, it's not all good, because that's the nature of the show. But you do delve into some of the more complex relationships that this new world has brought about. And again, the look of the show is fantastic. I know there's green screen there, but it looks awesome. The open plains, and then massive structures all look very, very nice. And again, we are seeing the development of Joel and Ellie's relationship still expanding and becoming more sound. And Ellie, again, for the most part, is a more likable character. I talked about this last time. It's like they wrote her in reverse, but that's fine. I can accept these things. There was some good humor in the episode. Weird. There's also and I don't know if this one's in the game or not. Again, I didn't play the game. They've done some stuff with Joel's character in this episode I didn't really like, though. It seems very just not something that Joel would do or experience. So that was a bit off-putting for me. But as an overall episode, it was another solid episode. There are themes in here that I need to talk about once we get into the deeper dive into this. But it's about the way certain aspects of this new society are structured. And I'm of two minds about it, and I'll get into that when we get into the deep dive. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode. So if you're going to stop here because you don't want to see the spoiler stuff, I recommend the episode. Still keep watching the show. There's only 2 left. So, I mean, at this point, we're committed, right? So here we are. This one picks up. They actually do a slight recap at the beginning of this with the ending of episode 5, where Henry is forced to kill his brother and then takes his own life. And then we see, Ellie walks off after leaving the "I'm sorry" note on Sam's grave. It's 3 months later, so we have a time jump here. We see a cabin, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's a gentleman bringing a couple rabbits up to the cabin. It's Graham Greene, by the way, as the actor. I was so pleased to see Graham Greene. He is awesome, and he's one of those actors you'll recognize him as soon as you see him. You go, oh, I know that guy. Well, you know him because it's Graham Greene. From Die Hard with a Vengeance. If you enjoyed that series, he played one of the police officers in that as well. But anyway, so he goes into the cabin and he sees his wife. They're a Native American couple, sitting in a chair, kind of giving him the eye. He either picks up the cue or he doesn't. If he does, he doesn't show a good job with it. So he's put down in his bow and his stuff. And then Joel comes out with a pistol. And he tells him to put his sidearm down. And now you get some, this is one of the humor parts I was talking about, where the couple's name is Marlon and Florence, by the way, for those keeping score. I don't know that we'll ever see them again, so that probably doesn't really matter. But they have that familiar bickering that an older couple has, and it was just amusing to watch them. he's like, you made them soup? And she's like, it was cold. So it was funny. Now, Joel, there's some back and forth here, and he ultimately gets kind of where they are on the map and tells them where they need, where they want to go. And this is where we get a sense of danger to come. There's a river that Marlon says, because Joel's like, what's the best way to go west? And Marlon says, go east. Once you hit the river, if you go west, you're done. We've seen bodies, some infected, some not infected. There's only death beyond the river is the ominous warning here. And Ellie's like, you're not going to scare us. And the wife, Florence, is like, well, it scared him. Because Joel's got this definite look of forebodings on his face. So as they're leaving, this is where it starts. Joel looks like he's about to have a panic attack. Ellie says something, brings him out of it, but now we've got this hanging over us. So Joel and Ellie now are on their journey. It's you're getting the beautiful landscapes, and they end up at this so-called River of Death. And it's getting late, though, so they decide they're going to camp. Joel's got an effed up boot he's trying to fix. He's just taping that thing together. And Ellie's actually, you can see the northern lights here, and it's, quite beautiful. And Ellie asks him for a swig of whiskey, and he gives it to her, which I thought was kind of funny. So this is an obvious change in their relationship. And she says, it's still disgusting, which is, got it. Then she starts speculating about life after, after they get to the Fireflies, after they develop a cure from her blood. And she starts to become, concerned. She's like, do you think it's actually going to work? She tells him about the incident with Sam. She knew Sam was sick, had been bit, and that she tried to save him with her blood, and that it didn't work. And Joel, being a reasonable man, is like, it's probably a lot more complicated than that. Marlene thinks they can do it, so they can probably do it. He's trying to build her confidence back. And there's, again, speculating about, things to come. She asks him what he wants to do. He's like, I want to raise sheep. They do what they're told. It's just, they're quiet. It's funny. So now Joel says he'll take both watches so Ellie can sleep. Okay. Well, morning comes. Ellie's standing with the rifle on watching. He slept through the night. He wakes up in a panic and asks her, make sure you wake me up next time. She's like, well, don't sleep next time. And she goes, I went through all the things that you've taught me over the last 3 months. And you do get it. She's not a child. And if both of them need to be taking their turns so that everybody can be at their best. So anyway, you get that. Now they start their day over, the next day's journey. Now they've gotten past the River of Death. They haven't gotten past it, forgive me. They cross a bridge. I don't know if it's a rail bridge. It's certainly not a car bridge. It might be a rail bridge. Could just be a pedestrian bridge. I don't know. So they cross the bridge, the River of Death. They're hiding in some bushes. They fire a couple rounds off to see if anybody's going to show up. This is precaution taking. You can't just blunder in there and expect everything's going to be either horrible or fine. This is, you're traveling on hearsay. I did find, I'm going to go back to that couple for a moment. They seemed like they had been, and I guess they had them. They had been, for the most part, untouched by this entire event. Because they had moved out there years and years ago, so they were isolated. So they're just still living their lives out there. I thought that was fantastic. So anyway. Now, they fire the rounds, nothing happens, so they continue on their journey. Ellie's asking if Joel will teach her to hunt. He's like, sure, but I don't think you can do the dressing. And that's, of course, we're removing the guts from the animal. That skeeves her out a little bit, which is funny. Now they come to a large dam. And I guess this is in the game, which I didn't play the game. And Ellie, of course, remarks, damn. It's kind of funny, folks. Just, you got to bear with the dad jokes. And Ellie actually says, how did the dam work to make electricity? And Joel's like, I have no idea. Going back to when he was siphoning the gas and he tried to explain it, and he's like, I don't know. I just know that it worked. Same kind of thing. But he didn't even try. Now, they come to another river. Uh-oh. And Ellie remarks, maybe this is the river of death. And it's like on cue. Joel whips out his map. He's like, oh, no. And riders approach, armed riders. And they tell Joel to drop his weapon, and they surround Ellie and Joel. And they're masked as well. You can't see their faces. And they tell the two to separate, to not a lot, but enough. And then they bring out a dog. And this is interesting. Then they don't have the fancy neck scanners. They just are. It's a infection sniffing dog. So it goes up to Joel, no problem. Then it approaches Ellie, and of course Ellie actually, she's immune, but she has the bite, and the dog's growling, and Joel's freaking out a little bit here. But then the dog is fine, and then it starts licking Ellie, and everybody laughs, and everybody's fine. And so they ask Joel, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm looking for my brother. And then another one of the riders says, what's your name? And now scene fades. Everybody is riding towards this massive wall, and this is a really impressive shot. It looks like an old fort from, the old-timey days of the Western cavalry and all of that. But it's huge. So good ingenuity going into this, and it looks, it's solid. This is the town of Jackson. So they go in, and it's like a regular town inside. There's stores and just people walking around doing regular people stuff. So it's a complete opposite of a Fedra zone. This is a regular town, a regular functioning town. And this is where I said it's a more upbeat episode because you get things like this. Now, as they're going into town, who does Joel see? It's Tommy. It's his brother. He comes up, they embrace, and Tommy's like, what the F are you doing here? And Joel responds, I came to save you. So that's pretty funny, right? Now we're in the mess hall, and again, I love the look of this episode and just the contrast of how normal everything is here. You need something like that in this type of story. It can't be all dismal, otherwise you feel like you just got beat up. And this episode does a nice job of a reboot. So they're in the mess hall. Ellie and Joel are scarfing down food like animals, and then Joel looks up and he gets a sense that, oh gosh, we're actually in civilization again. And he tells Ellie to mind her manners. And Ellie looks over, and there's a girl looking at them very curiously from the side, and Ellie's like, what's your deal? How come she's not minding her manners? Now we get a typical Ellie moment there, which I found annoying. There's also speculation about who this girl might be, and I'm not going to go into it. It has to do with the Last of Us Part 2, which has its own issues, but we're still here right now. We'll stay in this world. Now, Joel is asking questions about, kind of what the old people told them about the death and such. And Tommy's like, a bad reputation doesn't mean you're bad. And this is the more complex kind of things that you have to have in this world. The town of Jackson is known for, repelling raiders. They leave bodies so that they can see them, so that they know, do not approach this town. That's what the bodies are for. It's bad guys. But is that a bit of a harsh tactic? I don't think so in this environment. This environment is different. It is not our world. This is the world that has been created. So I get it. Joel asks if Maria is a lady who's sitting at the table with them, and obviously her and Tommy have a relationship, could leave and they could get some family time. And Tommy's like, well, she is family. Ellie immediately knows what he's talking about, and she's like, oh, they're married. Tell them congratulations. And Joel's like, congratulations. So now they're getting a tour of the city and what happened here. It was a town of 300 it was a gated community, so it was already more protected, and then they built up and around that. Now, this is a little bit funny, and this is one of those things I wanted to talk about. Jackson has because Joel's just asking questions. They have a democratically elected council, but everyone shares in collective ownership. And Joel's like, oh, so you're communists. And Tommy's like, no, we're not communists. And Maria's like, yeah, it's a commie, and it's communism. Now I want to talk about that for a second. Now the idea of communism is unappealing. This is more like what old communities had to be like prior to industrialization. This kind of concept that they are doing in this town doesn't work on a large scale. It works in small environments where everybody has to pull their load. It doesn't work in a city. It works in this. But again, this is a different world that has had to adapt to this disastrous infection that wiped out most of humanity. So you can't look at it through the lens of this place we live. This kind of thing doesn't work there. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that for a second. Now, Ellie and Joel meet a new pony. That's fine. And then Maria offers to take Ellie off Joel's hands for a minute so they can talk. So, and Ellie's a little bit spooked by this. She's like, hey, and Joel's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So you do get the sense that Ellie has become very reliant on, and she is reliant on Joel, and has anxiety about being separated from him. And I understand that. So now they're in a bar, which is hilarious in itself. That these, it's a town. It's a functioning town. They're having a drink. Tommy's asking some questions about Joel, to Joel about Tess, and what's going on with Ellie. And Joel gives him some false answers. And Tommy's kind of he knows Joel's lying, but he doesn't really call him on it. And then Tommy's like, well, there is a Firefly base that's close by here if you need to get her there, but it's very dangerous. And Joel's like, well, it'll be fine, with the two of us. And Tommy's like, he ain't going. He's got a life here, and he doesn't want to risk that. And then Joel's on, he thinks Maria's the one who kept Tommy from radioing. And Tommy's like, no, man, there are rules here. I'm trying to pay them back by following the rules of this community. And Joel gets the feeling that maybe they didn't want him there. He's the wrong type of person. Because remember, Tommy and Tess and Joel had to do some shady stuff to survive back in the day. But we put that behind us, moving forward. And now, and then Tommy also reveals that Maria is pregnant. He's going to be a dad. This somehow pisses Joel off. And then he's like, fine, I'll be out of here tomorrow. And then right outside the bar, he has, again, a panic attack. And he sees a girl walking the street who looks like his daughter, Sarah. And it's like, oh my goodness gracious. So again, these are aspects. Joel, to me, does not seem the kind of man who succumbs to panic attacks. He seems like a man who has accepted, with quotes around it, the world around him. He's at least adapted to the world around him, and is very skilled at managing himself within that world. So the panic attack thing kind of, making Joel seem less in control, I have a problem with that. So there's that. So he storms out of the bar, has the panic attack. In the meantime, though, so Ellie and Maria's taken Ellie to home. Ellie's gotten to take a shower. Maria's laid out some clothes for her. They're giving them a house to stay in. They have apparently spare houses in this town. So she's now hanging out with Maria. She sees there's a little shrine that has a couple names, Kevin and Sarah, above the fireplace. And Ellie doesn't know a lot about Joel's past. She assumes that the names were Maria's children, and Maria corrects her saying, no, Sarah was Joel's daughter. Then I think she catches herself. She's like, ooh, she doesn't know this. But she talks about her past life. She was a DA in Colorado, and then she kind of demands to give Ellie a haircut to take the wild out of her a little bit. And they have it's a decent conversation, and but she also tells she seems Maria seems really uneasy with Joel. I guess because her Tommy, I'm sure, told her about their things that went on before. I think this is bad because she's prejudging Joel. Yes, the world is what it is, but he's obviously taken care of this girl and gotten her here over many months of travel, and he has done nothing but actually take care of the girl. So cut the guy some slack, Maria. Now, the Joel is trying to fix his boots because remember the boots all messed up, and his hands aren't good. Remember he when he beat that Fedra guy to death in the first episode, his hand is still messed up. He obviously broke his hand, and it's not healing well. So he's trying to fix the boots, and Tommy brings him some boots, and then they actually have a conversation about what's going on. And Joel spills it about Tess dying, about Ellie is immune, and that he made a dying promise to Tess that he would take care of her and get her to the Fireflies. He also, and this is another part. This is where I have another problem with this episode, though. Joel is telling him how he thinks he's slow. His hearing isn't as good. He's not as capable as he should be, and he keeps having these panic attacks and bad dreams about loss. And I'm like, this isn't the character who we've known over these last several episodes. I don't know why they wrote him this way in this episode. I mean, is this leading up to ultimately the removal of Joel? I thought I had, like I said, I had issues with the way the character is behaving in this episode, and I get it. Yeah, I mean, in real life, you're gonna, especially when you coming out of a hostile, hunted state, going into a normal environment. But it started, I mean, it did kind of start before they got to the town, though, but I understand to a degree, you're having essentially PTSD because of what you've experienced, and now you're somewhere safe and all that has time to process. I can see it from that angle, but that's not really the way they're playing it either. So they're playing it like Joel just doesn't feel like he's capable of doing things. So he basically begs Tommy to take Ellie because he thinks she has a better chance with him. Okay, well, Ellie overhears all this, and she's reading a diary upstairs talking about what, this girl's past life, but then she gets pissed at Joel for wanting to basically hand her off to Tommy. She's like, what are you afraid of? And then she's yelling at him about, she says, I'm not Sarah. Joel hardens at this and basically becomes a wall. And then she screams at him again. You have no idea where is it? You have no idea what loss is. That's a stupid thing for her to say. I don't know why they had the character do this. Their relationship was coming along nicely. And of course, Joel knows loss. That's dumb. That's an idiotic thing for this character to say. It's stupid. So these are the problems I have with the episode, though. Joel basically coming apart at the seams, and Ellie saying things that are, again, taking us back to a much more unlikable version of the character. And I get it. She's hurt that he wants to pawn her off. I understand that. And I guess as a kid, she's going to say some hateful, stupid stuff because that's what she does. But anyway. So Joel leaves in a huff. And then the next morning, Ellie's just sitting on the bed, packed and ready to go. Tommy comes in, he gets her. They go down to the stables, and who's down there? Of course, it's Joel. And he's like, I was going to steal this horse, but I decided to stay. Ellie deserves a choice. And then she immediately hands Joel her pack. And let's go. Okay. And I'm sure, I don't know if the stealing a horse thing was what Joel was going to do and just was trying to pass that off. But I don't think it was. I think Joel intended, after a night of sleep and getting his thoughts together clearly, taking Ellie with him. So Tommy gives him his rifle, and off they go. And this is actually a pretty fun scene for a minute. They're out practicing with the rifle. Joel's trying to get Ellie trained up on it. And she's like, the rifle doesn't work right. The rifle doesn't work right. The scope's off something. And Joel gets it and then lands the shot dead in the center on a little target called Asshole, which I thought was funny. I thought that was funny. So we go from those kind of wonky moments to something good again. Yeah, whatever. So they get to the Eastern Colorado University, which is where the Fireflies are supposed to be. It's abandoned. There's monkeys running around, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't think Ellie had ever seen a monkey before. And because they're lab monkeys, so that's great. God knows what they have. And now Joel and Ellie find themselves in a room where there was medical supplies, just kind of scattered stuff around. But then there's like a packing list. Whoever was here bugged out, and they went to Salt Lake City. That's where they're about to go to next. Then there are armed men approaching. Of course, there are armed men approaching. There are always armed men approaching. Now, Ellie and Joel try to rush out of here, and then they're approaching the horse, and a guy with a bat tries to attack Joel. They get in a scuffle. The bat breaks, and Joel grabs the guy by his neck and actually just snaps his neck. It's impressive. I like that. But as the guy drops, you see that a portion of the bat is sticking out of Joel's abdomen. He pulls it out. It's, sharp as a knife, and he's gushing blood now. They hop on the horse. Ellie's shooting from behind. It's a well done scene. And they get away from the attackers. They get far enough away. Joel just slides off the horse. He's white as a ghost and gushing blood. And Ellie she's on the verge of tears. I'm not going to be able to do this without you. And the camera pans back, and the Depeche Mode song "Never Let Me Down." It's a cover of the song played in a much more morose tone. Comes on as a callback to episode 1, "Danger," and that was the episode. Like I said, overall, I enjoyed it. There were elements that I thought, and I'd explain them, that I thought were kind of wonky. The Joel panic attack thing is bugging me. And I hope we don't continue on with that. I hope he's gotten past that. Because I don't want to see that again from this character. I think I don't, it's like you have to, because he is such a capable person, you have to pull that back a little bit. Why? Why not let him be the badass that he is intended to be? I don't get it. And then having the flashbacks of unlikable Ellie again. But I like Jackson a lot. I thought that was a nice bit of respite in this terrible world. So I'm glad we got to see that. Also, humans don't have to be bad. This was good people who were able to come together, which goes against the vast vein of humanity. They are an outlier. I'm surprised they aren't under constant attack, but they must be able to repel adequately. But I thought it was a cool setup there. And so going into episode 7 now, Joel's not doing great. I don't watch previews, so I don't know what's coming up next. But I'm actually excited to see the next show. That's good, right? So here we are, closing in on the end of the season. We've got 7, 8, and 9 left. And remember, check out Flaccid Phoenix, their channel as well, because they're doing their takes on this show as well and covering it very well. So make sure you check them out. So that's it for now. We'll see you next time, and hopefully Joe pulls through. This has been Roman of the Empire signing off. Please like and subscribe, as the channel does need it. Be kind.